Talking Paranormal.
This week I am joined, thankfully, finally, by Sara and Phil Whyman from Are You Haunted? Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
So, obviously, people know you from most Haunted and stuff, and then Are You Haunted is currently on Series 4.
Yeah,
and it's definitely got better and better. Series 4, I must say, I'm like, okay, I'm into this now. Let's go. You know what I mean? I want to talk about your approach, the no tech, no Ouija boards. Tell me how you come to that.
Basically, we got fed up with the mainstream TV shows out there relying on the bits of equipment that, you know, and making out that there are ghost detecting bits of equipment, and when in reality there's no real such thing, because we've not got the parameters to make such a piece of equipment with, because we don't know if ghosts exist or not to get the parameters from to make a piece of equipment. And it started getting a bit silly, and we kind of realized that most paranormal experiences are not from people who are walking around with gadgets in any shape or form. They're just doing what their everyday routine would be. And we thought, let's do away with the gadgets and concentrate on relying on our own experiences and put ourselves almost, if you like, in the same position that most people who experience paranormal activity are in. Just, you know, sitting down doing whatever they're doing, rather than kind of walking around with gadgets and stuff.
Yeah.
But the concept was actually Sara's idea, which is why, as you mentioned right at the beginning, probably before we came on here, that I'm just there to be told what to do and where to stand, because Sara's the boss of the show. So
Yeah, I'll remind you of that. You've got this on. Recorded. I think for me, with the equipment side of things, and in the past, I've obviously, and we've just talked about this as well, but when we've been doing investigations and we've done like ghost hunting events, we used to run a company and things, and we always had the gadgets and the gizmos and everything else, because obviously that's what what we thought people wanted to use. And you do that sort of like the first vigil, and Phil would do his equipment talk, and we'd put all the gadgets out on the table. And first vigil, and people would come along and the table would be bare. And then second vigil, there'll be like a few more bits of equipment that'll still be on the table. But by the third, there was hardly anything on there. And when I used to take a group, I used to say, like, do you know what, let's just switch off all the equipment and let's just talk amongst ourselves, because I found from experience that when you're doing that, that's when you get things happening. And if you've got the gadgets sort of like the spirit box making all the noise, or you're looking into like a device, you've got the SLS cameras and things, you might miss something, and you often do. There's like, we've heard a lot of audibles that we wouldn't have been able to hear if we'd have had a device making a lot of beeps or static noises or whatever. And I think for me, it validates it more than something that's going to come through a gadget that you can't actually say. Like Phil said, how can you design something specifically when you don't know exactly how you can read what it is? We don't know what a ghost is. We don't know what it's made of. So how can you design something to specifically read or recognize it?
I think it's important to state that we're not against people using gadgets at all, which is why when we used to do public events, we used to have the gadgets for people to use, because that's what, they associate with the ghost hunting side of things. But we also, when Sara mentioned, I used to give a gadget talk before we did the investigations with the public. I also put in the theories surrounding the use, and at the end of it, I used to explain that, none of these gadgets are designed specifically to detect ghosts. So what you're using them for is to possibly help you come to a conclusion about whether a place is haunted or not, but to always take any evidence that they produce with a kind of a skeptical look to it and a pinch of salt. So
yeah, I mean, some of the results you can get are really interesting. And I'll be the first to admit that I was a bit of a geek and I loved all the gadgets and equipment. But again, when we looked at a format that we wanted for a show, we looked at what else was out there, and we wanted to be different from everything else. And that's why we thought, well, do you know what, if we strip back that side of it, there isn't any other show out there that's current that's doing that. And they're all got the gadgets and equipment. So we wanted to be a little bit different from what was already there.
And we'll give you a chance to talk again in a minute.
No, I'm gone.
I mean, people who probably watch the show will say, well, that's not quite true, because you use cameras, you use audio recorders, you use in Series 4 thermal imaging camera, but those bits of kit we use in the way that they're designed to be used. they are scientifically proven to detect. A thermal image camera, for instance, scientifically proven to detect changes in heat temperature and give you a readout.
No denying.
Audio recorders, they're designed to record audio, which is what we use it for. So we've not got any, what I call them kind of like pseudo science
we
gadgets.
like doing the EVPs and stuff.
Yeah,
still,
the EVPs and stuff. But
right, let me pick you up on EVPs. I'm going to go first. So I, just because you probably do this, well, you have your Zoom recorders, don't you? I have Tascam, similar kind of thing.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, so really early on, I'd buy a dictaphone. Yeah. And because we didn't record it, I didn't have a camera, we'd just have a team. So I would set my digital recorder running and I would literally dictate the evening for prosperity, for evidence, Ouija boards and stuff. So you'd think that is like a 2-hour long EVP session, and it's simply not full of EVPs, So where do you stand on leaving the recorder running and just holding it for like a minute burst so that they've got the energy to make a noise?
You've done that on a couple of episodes, haven't you? Where you've got the EVP and you have the recorder.
I mean, we've got I've got a little I can't remember the make of it now.
Olympus.
Is it Olympus?
Yeah.
Just a little dictaphone thing that we've got, and obviously then we've got the Zooms as well, which we stick in the rooms and we just leave them to it. But I do like asking the questions, because every now and again you do get something that comes back, and which is quite interesting. Sometimes, or I would say 99% of the time, you don't get anything, but what you do get, then that's obviously notable.
But we do like to leave the lock-off audio recorders. And we also, in certain scenarios, we do have the little portable one that we walk around with, or sit down in the group and do EVP sessions. So it depends what the situation is, but we're not averse to using locked off audio recorders, and the ones that we just take with us when we're doing the little group sessions, just on the spot EVP, which we then kind of play back, see if there's anything on them. But as far as the Zoom recorders are concerned, we tend to get little bits and pieces, but it's all from like 8 hours of audio recording for about 3 bits and pieces.
That's real good fun going through that.
Yeah, it's real good fun going through it.
I know. I mean, CCTV is a proper pain in the ass when you've got to watch them back like one screen at a time for 2 or 3 hours. I mean, I sacked that off quite soon. Has night vision ever caught a spirit as clear as day? Because I'm not even convinced that night vision would ever catch a spirit. It's just that it's useful for seeing in low-lit locations.
Yeah.
It's difficult to say, isn't it? I mean, I think that the main one for us was the one at the Majestic, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was weird.
We actually saw it with our eyes at the time, and we, myself and Phil, were sat on the hub with the CCTV, and we saw at the time it looked like
a wispy column of light,
like sort of swirling. And obviously we'd got the CCTV set up in there, but our cameras typically weren't pointing in that direction. And then we sort of said, hang on a minute, the actual theatre itself's got CCTV. And we had the guy go through it, and it did pick it up. It did pick it up on there. It didn't look the same as what it did to us with our naked eye, but there was something there.
This is the thing. The difference in what we saw with our eyes and what the camera captured is like chalk and cheese. It's absolutely honestly ridiculous. You get a small, on the CCTV camera from the theatre, you get a small kind of wisp of narrow light anomaly, like moving forward a bit. But while that's being captured on the camera, what we're seeing is literally about a 5-foot swirling, undulating light column,
weird, the way it moved,
gently sloping down the stairs.
Yeah.
And yet all you capture on the CCTV was the little wisp of light. It's really weird.
I just remembered as well on the Wigan House episode, I don't know if you've seen this one, is where Jane sees the figure through the doorway. That CCTV camera was actually pointing that way, and that didn't catch anything, but she saw it with an
absolutely. And I know that's genuine, because I have had exactly the same. We've all, well, actually not me, I'm usually looking at somewhere else, but the girls who I investigate with, they'll be like, oh my God, did you see that? Did you hear that? And you're pointing directly at it. And it's just not on camera. Another example is a cellar where I left a dictaphone on the stairs, and 3 of the team literally thought they heard me walking up the steps. We're talking 12 steps. They're looking for me to appear from the cellar. Nobody there. I was actually outside waiting for a medium to turn up. So I'm like, eagerly, I'll just replay the dictaphone. This will be fantastic. I had 1 step.
Yeah.
And it's like, that to me is paranormal. It's like, it shouldn't be. It defies the logic of audio capture.
That's a paranormal experience of a paranormal experience.
Yeah, so that's what's paranormal, when you don't catch it, but you witnessed it in a way.
I always go back to capturing, when it comes to capturing stuff on camera, whether we actually need to have some kind of sentience to make the connection to what we term as a spirit or ghost, if such things exist, obviously. And the fact that a camera doesn't have that sentience, it's just an inanimate object, basically. That I always wonder whether that is why 99.9% of the time you don't capture anything on camera, like the little wisp of light we saw, instead of the big column of light.
And I mean, I think back to when I actually saw my first proper, I would say 100% apparition to me, because I can't say anything other than that. And I was, and this is going back a while, and this is before your phone cameras and all of that, and I just got your point and click camera. And that's what I was doing. I was in a pitch black room, pointing and clicking, and as the flash lit the room up, and I wasn't looking at the screen, I was just looking beyond it into the darkness, there was a man just lit up in the room by the flash. And I look at, obviously I go back through the camera, and nothing at all on there, but I saw him 100% solid person in the room, and there was nobody there.
This was
else.
A former RAF base, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a RAF Hampton.
RAF Hampton at the time.
Yeah.
Half of the base was still being used and half of it wasn't, so we were only allowed to explore half of the base. But it was in the area where they used to have was it the map room or something like that?
It was like a sunk. You weren't there.
No, I know, but I've been, obviously.
I know you've been, but you weren't there.
I wasn't there at the time.
It was the operations room. So where they do like the war games, where they push the things around on the table. It was in the room. I mean, I've heard, and I don't know how true it is, that I've heard that people that have been back there on investigations, and unfortunately they don't allow people in anymore because we did try. But they've seen something in that same room as well. I don't know how. I mean, obviously that's what I've heard, but yeah, he was. I could still, if I close my eyes, I can see him perfectly now.
Yes, and that is what's so painful. That it's great that you've seen that, Sarah, isn't it? But it's no good to anybody else. The things that I've seen make me, or heard, convince me 100% that I've seen something. I can tell my teammates, and they're like, "That's brilliant, Chris." Yeah, but I didn't see it.
And it was a little bit like that on the night for me, because I was like buzzing.
Yeah. Like I've seen a figure. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was getting quite annoyed with like my teammates that were with me at the time. The fact that they were just going about the business like as usual. Like, hang on a minute, guys, this is what I've seen, and they're like, "All right, okay." But and we get a lot of people that will send us images, and they'll say, "Oh, what can you look at this, and what do you make of this?" And it's so difficult to give an opinion of something when you don't know, because you've not been there.
Because it's anecdotal evidence.
Yeah, you don't know how the picture was taken or what was there in the room to be able to sort of describe, what you think. So we can say it's interesting, but how can you yourself personally give that 100% opinion on something?
You can give an opinion on what you think it might be or might not be, but you can't say 100% what it is because you weren't there at the time, unfortunately.
Still interesting to see.
Yeah. What about those thousands that you see, though, within like a split second? You're like, that's just a stain on the wall. Do you know what I mean? You just know. I mean, we've done live streams where people are like, there's a figure stood in that doorway, and it's not even a doorway. It's where someone's painted a black rectangle over a stoned up doorway. You're like, there can't be anyone stood in the doorway. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, trust us, we're sat in this building, and we know you didn't see it. Just take my word for it.
But it's nice that people interact, though.
Yeah, it is. But I'm afraid I'm just like, no, it isn't. You know what I mean? Because when I started the team, as I say, after all those years, I was like, I want for all the thing in the world for it to be true, but I imagine it's not, and I'm going to prove that it's not. So I started with the Ouija board, and unfortunately, even now, 13 years on, I can't disprove it. Things are getting more harder to disprove, We all know that you can read things wrong and wishful thinking and interpret things wrong. But through the Ouija board, I know you can say that it's you pushing it. We've gone so far beyond that. I'm sort of thinking, yes, we do manipulate it. But the fact is that the Ouija board has led us to find diaries, and it's a red diary and it says this in it. It's up in that room, all the bookshelves all over, but go and root through that room and you'll find it. And you do. And you're like, none of us knew it was there. Even if we were pushing the glass, someone was talking to us through the board. Do you know what I mean? There's more to it. Finding lost keys and stuff, and you're like, well, none of us knew where they were, and yet they're where whatever it is says it is. So yeah, even trying to disprove things and putting glasses on glasses so that can you move the glass underneath? Because if we're touching one glass, the energy should transfer through to the bottom glass. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
But spirits get really pissed off with me because I'm not sort of talking to them. I'm just saying, do this. No, do it again, but let me make it harder for you. Do you know what I mean? And they're like, the board just goes dead. It's like, yeah, okay, I did spend an hour on that trying to make you jump through hoops. You know. So that leads me on to you were at ITC Turbos in Bradford, again, annoyingly near me. And then Sarah, you used the dice. You went through a phase of the dice. And so you do away, I'm not using gadgets, Ouija board, not doing it. And then the dice, I'm thinking that must just be, we need to be doing something, like I have a section. Because what was your theory with using dice?
That was Phil's idea. I'm going to let him answer.
Yeah.
I think I kind of thought about putting that in because I had somebody ask if we'd ever used spirit dice. And I thought, no, I've never used spirit dice. And so I kind of put it towards the team to perhaps use it in just as an experiment kind of thing, basically.
Yeah.
To put it in a couple of or so episodes. And we did. And whilst the majority of dice rolls, if you like, and questions that we asked and then rolled the dice for didn't produce any coherent answers. Some of them did, but admittedly, again, some of the answers are like 2 or 3 letter words. I think we had the odd occasion where there was like 5 letters or something like that could be drawn out of it. But it's an interesting experiment, and I think the people liked watching that we did those.
Yeah.
But I'm still kind of like on the fence with that, all that kind of
I mean,
stuff.
obviously in the final edit of the episode, we don't spend all that time putting the bits in that you don't get any response on, because that's not interesting.
Yeah, of course. I'm not saying that,
But I think the biggest one for me was obviously we did the thing where we drew it out, and whoever was the lucky or unlucky person that got to spend the time alone wherever doing it, and I got it at the nunnery. And there was one roll of the dice, and I'm going to admit this, that you know, when you're there and you're doing it, and you're obviously in this pitch black location that you know is got a reputation for haunting.
Yeah,
it's a bit uneasy anyway at the best of times. But when you're trying to look at all the dice and work out a lot of words, it's sometimes it's just you can't do it. So it wasn't until afterwards when we did the edit that I used to put the all the letters that came up on the dice into like a word generation app, and it just give me all the words, so I didn't have to sit there and study them all.
Most of them didn't make any sense to the question that was asked.
It came up with one, and I can't remember what the question was now, but it came up with so much that were relative to where I was at the time in the nunnery. I don't know, there was about 8 words, I think, that just on one roll of the dice. It was something crackers like that. So yeah, it's an interesting experiment, and that's, you know, it's just something that broke it up, mixed it up a little bit.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's something that we probably won't include again we didn't include it in series 4, did we? I
no.
think.
You tick that box. It was good to try, and I'd never seen spirit dice.
It's more of a kind of a spiritual experiment, if you like, rather than
I'm all for that. I mean, because I've not seen it, and I'll tell you about my issue with it in a second, but I think that's really good. That really stands out as we're not afraid to try things and say, we're not just going to say it's good or it's bad. We're just going to give it a go. And you don't know until you've experimented, do you? So you is somebody stood behind me, sort of Sarah, that one. You rolled all the dice and was like, oh, Mark, because in that instance, you picked out Mark, right? But all the dice spelt like backdrop behind you. You know, all the dice spelt out crackpot. Funnily, you know, there was combat, a chord. Exactly, you're right. I just put all the dice into a Scrabble generator, and was going, well, a lot of these words don't mean anything, and some that could come up might frighten you more than others. You know, if potato came up, you wouldn't be bothered, but if demon came up, suddenly that's, you know, exactly, so I thought, why don't they roll 3 dice, what has the ability to spell either yes or no, and then you've got a conversation. If it works, and by working, it must, you're saying, not you weren't saying, but if it works, you've got to be saying that the spirit in an instant actually get involved the moment it leaves your hand, decides what it's going to spell. I just don't think spirits work like that fast, unless we're going down some sort of time slip where there's no time for them and they can, on the Ouija board, and when we ask for things, it's never just instant. There's always some sort of delay. With Esther's method, it's almost like you ask the questions out, and then 2 minutes later, you start realizing that they're answering questions from a minute and a half, 2 minutes ago.
Yeah.
And it's like there's some sort of lag, spiritual lag, and you're not going to find out these things until you just try them, whether you believe in them or not. You've got to say, tick the box. Into this week's episode, we're going to try Esther's method, see what we think. But then, of course,
No, we've not tried it, but it's something that we've kind of looked at.
Yeah, been mulling about it, but just to put the dice experiment into perspective. Yeah. Because I was looking at one of the episodes earlier on today, actually, where we did the dice. I think it was Keithley Streets, and I got chosen to do the dice, which I wasn't happy about because I have a.
You just don't like being on your own.
I don't like being in the dark on my own since I was a little kid, and when the guys came back to come and kind of pick me up from the dice session, I said I did at least 30 questions. I asked 30 questions, and out of those 30 questions, if I remember looking at the episode as I did earlier on, I only got about six, 7 coherent answers that could have meant something in response to the question. But so it's a lot of nothingness.
But,
absolutely. But then again, that's paranormal investigating anyway, isn't it? A lot of it is when we're trying to compact everything down into that show, into like the hour long. A lot of it, you're not going to get anything. And we do try to sort of like, there are some quieter places. And if it's been quieter, then we will say it's been quieter.
Yes.
But obviously you want to put the bits the way it hasn't been quiet in. So it can come across as being really mad night and all this stuff's going on. It's over a long
it's trying to get the balance. And with some episodes, it's easier to get a balance than others, I imagine, looking at the editing.
Sometimes there's that much stuff, honestly, that we can't even fit it in.
But again, just going back to the format of the show, we had in mind that if we did have incidents or investigations where not an awful lot is happening, we had the crew and the team members to effectively make it still an interesting show to watch. Because we've known each other for years, we all have a bit of banter. We all sometimes get each other's nerves, and we snap and we tell joke, have a joke and that lot, and that kind of helps to glue the episodes together. Where perhaps not an awful lot is happening compared to the episode down the line or the previous episode. So.
Yeah, well, that's where you should put someone in a room and have a blindfold on for an hour and see. If reducing their vision, whether their ears pick up. And I often think that spirits are like scared of us. When you hear noises and it's on the floor that you're not on. Yeah. And then you go to that floor and they're always just out of reach a lot of the time.
We've had that loads. Absolutely.
Exactly. Yeah. And I wish that more teams would share with each other. God knows how many teams I've given my write-ups to and said, if you go there, here's my write-up. See if you get the same. Obviously, don't share it with everybody beforehand, but the ghost hunters should be working towards one specific goal, and that is, a massive cross section across the UK, and then seeing if the results tally. Surely, but no, everyone's like, no, we're not telling you what happened. This is our place to go. This is our evidence, and I just don't understand it. This para unity thing is absolute crap. There you go. I said it.
Yeah, that's why I kind of like the fact that our episodes actually are there for people to watch free, and they can see what we get up to and what stuff we actually experience. Is like I'll tell you, one of the strangest things is we were at a location in season 4, and I think it was Jane and Dale were down in a basement area. And then we were on the floor above, if I remember right, in the corridor. And they, obviously because I've edited the episode, so I know all the bits and pieces.
Yeah.
They were getting massive thudding footsteps, which to them sounded like directly above them, which is where we were in the corridor. And we weren't even moving. And we didn't even hear it.
No.
I can't, that just blows my mind when you can't, if you can't pick, when you hear something, usually you can't pinpoint exactly where it's coming from. It always needs to be in a space which is not around you anyway, if that
It
makes
is,
sense.
it's you hit the nail on the head there. So many times where we've like, oh, we've just heard something in this room, and then we go into that room, and then we hear it in the room that we've just come out of, and it happens so many times. Really weird.
Well, there's also that thing where the team sat around a Ouija board or whatever we're doing, and then we'll hear a noise, and everyone goes, "It's over there! It was over there!" And you're like, "What?"
Yeah,
Because you're all sat in a circle. Surely the sound is bouncing off, and God, how do you take that into account? How do you even plan to? Well, let's rule this. You can't, can you?
No, it can be a bit awkward.
Yeah.
To do that.
But I wanted to talk to you about triangulation, being that even if you don't believe in K2 meters, as you've said, they do pick up on something, right? So if you had even 3 K2s or meters of any sort and made a triangle around what you were doing, around a room you're investigating, at least then if 2 went off, you'd know it's not in that third. Do you know what I mean? You could...
Yeah,
I think there's all those meters, some that just like pick up vibrations in the floor as you walk near them.
Yeah.
Don't just use one. Spread them out. Let's make a web and let's find out exactly where those noises are coming from. Or you know what I mean?
Gets pretty expensive.
Yeah, but it's what we do, isn't it? Talking about setting up, how long does it, an episode's an hour or whatever. Has anyone brought the USB plug? Where are those other SD cards? How long does it take you to actually set up?
Well, we got to the point where we all had our own little jobs to do.
Yeah.
When we started, it took about, bloody hell, it took about 2 hours.
Oh my God, yeah.
Obviously.
I mean, especially with this one, it was like, just get out of my way.
Get out of my way, I'll do it.
And we're like stood there like, give us something to do.
But yeah, probably over 2 hours actually.
Yeah.
But when we all everybody kind of pulled me in and said, look, we need to help you do this.
We kind of each sort of fell into our own sort of like bit. And when we got there, we just cracked on because we knew what we were doing.
Yeah, so we'd have Dale and Ben perhaps setting up the CCTV system. I'd be off doing GV shots, taking, generate views of the building, the location we're at. You were out there like talking to the guy or person we're going to be interviewing, making sure that they know what they're doing, wiring them up for a microphone, and that thing. And we got it down to quite a decent time in the end.
And the other thing I will say is that what delays us is we don't all see each other. So this is the time that we came together as friends. And we see each other, so it's like
catch up for 30-40 minutes,
and you wanted to like talk to your friends and socialize, but you've obviously got work.
Got a job. Yeah. Right. So Sarah, I want you to speak on this. Men investigators versus women investigators, because I am the only man in my team. I have family, my sister, my niece, and they're all women because for me, they make up the gap with children spirits or anything that's of a compassionate nature where I'd just be almost blank. And women are just much more empathetic and sympathetic. Do you think there's a difference having an investigator like yourself or just filling a room? What do you think about that?
I think, well, different. The thing is, you've got to take it back to the fact that whatever spirit's there was a person. Yeah. So, I mean, if you have got a child, it might be that they would relate more to a female presence being there. There's places that we've been to that there's spirits there but they don't like women, or more often than not, me and Jane would get shoved into that area where that nasty spirit is, just so that it could get some kind of reaction. I think you were just being mean, really, but but yeah, I do think it does make a difference. And often there's been times where if we're asking out and we're just not getting anything, and I'll say to one of the guys, you ask out and see if you get anything, see if it makes a difference, and it has done.
Yeah.
So yeah, you've got to think of it in terms of you call it a spirit, but it's a person. It used to be a person. And this is one of the things that I always used to say when we were doing the events is don't just keep asking the same questions over and over again, especially as an events company. We were going back to places that would get events companies in every single weekend, like you'd go to the big ones that everybody knows that want us to attend. But if that was a person, that spirit sat there thinking, oh God, they're here again and they're asking me to do this and they're asking me to do that. You've got to try and use that empathy sometimes and try and get a reaction from having a conversation rather than just shouting demands.
Yeah. Talking about asking different questions, we put this out when Sarah was, we were doing an investigation with the general public years ago. And Sarah was actually just said there.
It was at Golden Fleece.
It was at the Golden Fleece, yeah. And Sarah was, don't always ask the same questions. Ask something different. And this guy came out with, did he say, do you like
sponge?
Do you like sponge? I thought it was a bit crazy, but fair enough.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
He didn't get a reply though.
No, so we'll never know if they like sponge.
No.
Yeah, that's cool. Now, I feel like you're both as scared as each other, so the question is about...
I am.
The question is about bringing spirits home with you. Does that creep into your mind, or have you had experience with it?
There's only been one occasion, and it didn't come home with me. I investigated this years ago before me and Phil met. I went to a location called Plesley Vale Mills. I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
I haven't heard of that.
Yeah, it's
Mansfield,
that way out. Fantastic place. And I went there with... I used to have my own paranormal team, and the medium in that team, Kev, we went along to help somebody that was to do with the building. There was some stuff going on there, and I think there were about 5 or 6 of us, and me and Kev were there. And as we came away and we were driving home, and I was driving, and I looked in the mirror, in my rearview mirror, and I just sort of like, and he just said, "Oh, you've seen him, haven't you?" And I'm like, yeah, it just looked like there was somebody sat in the back of the car when I'd looked in my rearview mirror. And he didn't even need to look, did Kev, because obviously he was a medium and he picked up on that anyway. But I mean, I'm skeptical anyway, and that's what made my old team work so well, because we had Kev as the medium, but I was quite skeptical, but we worked well together. So we used to this is going back to where me and Jane met, because Jane was in my paranormal team. So me and Jane used to do a recce on a location, but we didn't tell anybody else where we were going. And we used to just say, "Oh, we'll meet in this car park at whatever time. And you either jump in the car with us, or we'll go in a convoy and we'll go to the place." So nobody else knew where we were going. But yeah, I'm going off topic now. But yeah, that's the only occasion that it's ever come close to anybody following me home.
And do you do any sort of, I don't know, protection, or have you got rituals that you sort of feel, no? Turn up and just see what happens? Yeah,
I've never personally, I know that other people do, and I respect that, but for me personally, it's not something that I've ever done.
No, I mean, I believe I've had spirits visit me and then tell me about it, confirm it. And in fact, all the team have, and they'll say, I mean, obviously I won't tell the team, but I'll ask the board, and you find out all sorts of things. They've been watching you and your kids, and they'll say what you were talking about, and it's like they've obviously visited us at home, but doing protection or not, I just really don't see. You think about when we do protection, you shield yourself with white light, you shield yourself, and then next thing you say, "Come on, touch me." Come on, well, you just shielded yourself. How it's two completely different
active, isn't it?
Ideas, But I now, more than saying protection, I think of it more like an invitation. It's like flicking a switch and saying, "Right, I'm beaming my voice out. I am inviting you." It's an invitation to come. Please come close. We're giving up our time. Please, reciprocate, sort of thing.
That's why we don't kind of approach things aggressively, do we? We don't demand people, these spirits, if you like, if they exist. We don't demand that they do something. We're respectful. We don't shout. We don't get angry. We don't, I know some people do, which is totally disrespectful. And but as we've said already, these are spirits of people that have passed over. So they were people. You should still be respectful.
And I think not only that, if somebody came along and was shouting at me, I don't think I'd want to interact with them anyway. So that's my sort of opinion.
Yeah, when you put it in the real world, it doesn't make sense that you would be open to talking to that person.
Yeah, you wouldn't talk to a normal person like that, would you?
No.
You get a smack in face.
No. If someone were like, "Yeah, come on, show yourself," it's like, walked into your house saying, "Come on, prove that you're here." You'd be like, "I'm sorry."
Yeah.
You, like me, have looked through hours of CCTV. I presume it took you a couple of weeks to think, "Oh, that's dust. Oh, that's dust." And yet there's a prevalence of people who send CCTV footage from their garage and say, "Look at all these orbs." Where do you stand on orbs, or do you just say, "Shut up"?
I politely say,
maybe not.
Yeah, maybe not. Yeah.
Now, I've heard about, you mentioned seeing that thing earlier, the big shape, right? So I hear tales of there was a huge, we saw it, 3 people saw it going down a corridor, an emitting light. You saw it with your naked eye. That's fascinating, isn't it? That's like, okay, if I saw that, I would think that was maybe a spirit light if 3 of us saw it. So I do believe there are that sort of, well, I mean, I've heard of it. I don't know if I believe it, but that's the only thing. If you experience it, suddenly you might be able to believe it, but hearing a tale is a completely different thing. We
Yeah.
got cases where they're like, I've called you in because my remote control just levitated off the couch and then dropped. I'd be like, I'm sorry, what? I've done this, you know what I mean? Asking for stuff, and they have the most miraculous stories, and you're just like, if I witnessed that, you'd be absolutely amazed. You know, and a lot of the time it's people who are skeptics as well. They'll say, "I don't believe in ghosts, but this one time, this plate flew across my room, and I don't know why."
Oh,
And
do you
you're
know
like,
what?
"What?"
I literally had that exact same conversation with Ben tonight on my way home. I rang him because he's at university.
Yeah.
And I can't remember what he'd said to me, but we were talking about like believing in ghosts and all that, because I were asking him if he'd managed to catch any of the new season yet.
Yeah.
And I said, you know what, when people, like everyday people that you meet that aren't associated with paranormal or whatever, and they find out what we do, and they will always go, as if they don't believe in it. And then they'll come back and they'll say, well, actually, there was this one time that my auntie or I experienced, and it's always a story.
It's
and
an
because there's
amazing
not
thing.
the story, that makes me think, well, do you know what? There must be something, because everybody's got a story, whether it's happened to them or happened to somebody that they know. So if it's not a ghost or a spirit, then what is it? We don't know, do we? So
what is it?
That's another thing. And I brought this up not long ago, actually, and it's something I always think about, that if eventually science does prove that there is no such thing as a spirit in the sense that we think of a spirit, then what exactly are people seeing? You know, because it's not just a one-off occurrence. It's countless people throughout the world seeing what at the minute we class as a ghost. But if science says there's no such thing as ghost, what is it they're seeing then?
That we're seeing?
Just to go back to your orb situation, I have seen, and this might shock people, I have seen an orb with my naked eye once. Right. And I was in the basement of the Station Hotel in the West Midlands with my dear old friend Derek Acora. And we were stood down there doing a kind of vigil, and I saw a blue orb. It must have been about the size of a tennis ball, bright blue ball of light, and it shot from left to right and vanished in the corner of the room, of the cellar, the basement. And I was literally, I turned to Derek to say, did you see that? And at the same time, he turned to me and went, did you see that? And I was like, oh my God. I was absolutely gobsmacked, because we both saw this light, and that's the only time I've ever seen one. Bright blue ball of light.
Yeah. So there's something, not necessarily paranormal, just we haven't made it normal yet.
Yeah.
It's like time slips, isn't it? You hear about. Is that now there's like science is going down the multiverse route, and is the past and present all going on at the same time, and it's just our perception we're stuck in one place. You know, that could be what spirits are. So maybe it's not the dead, it's just a replay. It makes sense. We see long ago people walking around the same building, like noises that you hear. For example, I was alone at my old workplace in the first thing in the morning, and I heard distinctly people walking up the steps. It was an open staircase that I literally looked at, and I was looking to say, oh, I didn't hear you come in. Nobody there. Now, it sounded just like throughout the day when people did walk up the stairs. So is it a replay? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is it not there's something there? Because you think about, well, the physicality of a ghost can it have the energy to make that? Why would it bother to make the stomping noise? It can just glide up the stairs. Do you know what I mean? And as we said, sound works wrong in the paranormal. Yeah, time slips. Any theories? Do you like that sort of idea?
I love the idea of time slips.
It's interesting.
Yeah, I found them really interesting and fascinating. We watch a show on YouTube regularly called the Why-Files, and some of this kind of stuff comes out on there, and it's just fascinating to watch.
It's like the movie The Others, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's really frustrating, as we've said about sharing evidence, that even on your show and my own things that I catch, when you actually try and play somebody else the recording, they're like, I can't hear anything. When you've got your headphones on and you're reviewing silence for an hour, and then you hear, you're like, go listen. So you clip it down, and then when you just play them that, you're like, what am I listening to? You know, it's so annoying. Sometimes you'll do your EQ up, and I'm like, I still can't hear it. And it's so frustrating, isn't it, that it doesn't come out clearer.
We've started on the odd occasion. I've put kind of an headphones might be better to listen to this.
Yeah, a little icon.
But I'll tell you what we have noticed, and it's kind of really frustrating and annoying, is Sarah will do some of the editing. So how it works is Sarah pulls all the bits out that she wants included in the main episode from all the hours worth of footage. So she goes through the entire lot of footage, and then she'll send it over to me to edit and make it look nice and pretty and a coherent episode. And she'll be writing stuff down saying at 15:23 there's this noise, and I'm listening to it. I'm like, I can't hear it. What is it? I can just vaguely hear something. And that's because we've both got different headphones.
Right,
and they've both got different dynamics and frequency ranges. So I end up swapping headphones around on quite a regular occasion just to listen to the sound. And when I more often than not, when I do that, I can actually hear what she's talking about. And then
when it goes through the edit, and as you rightly said, there is times and when you're watching it back on the TV and you think, oh, I heard that as clear as day with the headphones on, but I'm struggling to hear it now on TV.
I think that's because we're being very kind of wary of our neighbour next door, because we live in a semi-detached house and we don't want to turn the volume too loud.
I think just going back to what you've said there, though, when you're kind of sitting and you're reviewing the footage or you're listening to your recordings, and I guess on the episode when you get this tiny little noise, it's that tiny little noise that makes us keep going back and doing it again, because you're not going to get a full-blown conversation. I think the best that we ever got was when we were at Binbrook.
RAF Binbrook. Oh my God.
And that was the most cracking.
I honestly cannot. I, just thinking about it now, kind of gives me kind of.
There's a woman talking.
It's
she's
honestly right. It's so weird. We were walking around. It was a couple of the other guys, wasn't it? Walking around setting up the audio recorders, and one of the audio recorders was set up. They've got a theatre in RAF Binbrook, and one of the recorders was set up behind the stage area, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway, sets that up, and we get on with the investigation. Comes in and we gather all the gear, come back home. A couple of days later, we go through the audio. I am not kidding you, clear as day. Right, there are two Scottish people, Scottish males, talking to one another, and then about 10 seconds after they finish talking, there's an American woman that basically says, "All right, ladies and gentlemen."
I think she says sorry.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Or, all right, ladies and gentlemen. I cannot for the life of me understand where that come from.
And we got the gunshot. Yeah.
And the gunshot, when we had a gunshot noise. To the fact that when we cleared up the audio and enhanced it with the EQ, you can hear the gunshot as clear as day, and you can also hear what sound like birds flying away in response to it.
Wow,
weird. And this was in the middle of the
and we did check to make sure there were no bird scarers or anything like that.
And this is like stupid o'clock in the morning.
Yeah,
and we'd been there from like 6 o'clock in the evening all the way through to about 3 in the morning. This went off about 2, 1:30, something like that.
Yeah, you've just reminded me of something. We were at it's a cafe. It was on an old train station. What was no longer there, and we were only there because we'd heard. Well, we were only there because we got told we could go, and somebody had killed himself in the cellar. So I was like, I'm not really chasing that. But I am going to put the one half of the baby monitor, the microphone end, and upstairs doing a Ouija board. I'll just have the speaker end of the baby monitor just here, We were talking to this spirit on the board about how her husband was crushed between 2 trains. And I was like, well, yeah, that kind of checks out, you know what I mean? And as we were sort of thanking her and sorry for your loss, this one speaker, now bearing in mind, we're on the floor with all the windows to the town, Keithley, like where you went down under the arcade, right? And nothing comes through the windows, but just out of the baby monitor comes this horn of a train, and we were like, that's impossible unless there's a toy train in the cellar, I guess. But yeah, it just hears and you were like, what the hell? It's those moments that you do. Why do you forget them? I mean, when you reminded me and you were like, that was amazing. And are there other things that you suddenly have witnessed and you go, oh yeah, remember when that happened?
Yeah, it's
we got that again. You've just reminded me mentioning Keighley, because at Keighley Underground Streets, we got on the EVP where somebody just said no,
stop.
Yeah.
Oh, stop.
Yeah,
it was stop, not no.
Again, because I was listening to this yesterday actually, and it's where we were asking out for children. Because apparently there's been children seen down there, and we're asking out for children. Are there any children with us? Can you give us speak to us, etc. And in the faintest of audio, you can hear what does sound like a group of children speaking or making a fuss or something, and then literally clear as day, there's a male, clear as day, goes stop, and then there's nothing else.
Yeah,
and there's nobody there in that area apart from the team,
And-
the member that was asking out.
And obviously, what I do then is, because I'm editing on the raw footage,
yeah,
I got the last point where somebody spoke over the radio. I linked that up from that camera to the guys that were on hub, to that coming through on the radio, and then to the other guys who were down in the far end of the streets. And I watched each one back to make sure that nobody just went stop, and nobody did, and you can't hear it on any of the others. So I sort of pinpointed it from that radio conversation.
Yeah, it's so clear though. It's weird.
Bizarre.
well, you're underneath all those shops as well, aren't you?
Yeah.
You know, you're properly underground in there.
Yeah, and there's nobody obviously in the shops at that
Have you
time of
been
day.
in there?
No. Well, I lived in Keighley for ages. Yeah, I haven't investigated there, and I've known about it for 13 years. And I just talked to someone yesterday with another team I know. I said, I've got to go there, even with you first. And then, because when it was uncovered, I was like, wow, that's incredible. That sounds brilliant.
Really good place.
It's really,
you do need to
go. If you get a chance to go, it's creepy as.
Yeah. Around we got Haworth cemeteries and all sorts. There's all sorts around here. We've got some places that you don't hear about. This place called the Doggy Daycare. It's just a dog place, like a dog sitting and sort of a babysitting place almost when you go on holiday and that. And I tell you, you wouldn't think you'd get the activity that we'd had from it. Like literally, talking to a spirit, and they were like, "Oh, can you bang for us?" They'll bang on the shutter. Now, bearing in mind, it's fenced off behind the shutter. You don't get in there. And I must have asked out 1,000 times for knocks over the years. And of course, you get nothing. So when I did get a knock back, I mean, all of us jumped. It was like the thing you asked for, but don't expect.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And when we went back the next time, not as impressive, but that same spirit came through. So I said, can you do that again? A little bit more of a delay, but another distinct bang on the shutter.
Yeah.
And so that's like, those are fleeting. We're talking fleeting moments. That's 1 second out of 10 years. It's just amazing.
Yeah. I tell you something really strange that I still can't get my head around is it's an episode in season 4, and I'm upstairs on my own in one of the rooms of this location and asking out as you do. And I'm literally saying, if there's anybody there, can you repeat this? And I'm literally about to bang my torch on the table 3 times, right? So that, is anybody there? Knock, 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 repeat that kind of thing. Yeah. And you can see me, you've got the camera on my hand with the torch in my hand. And I literally just move my hand up to knock for 3 times. And something goes knock, knock, knock. Yeah. Before I'd even done it.
Yes.
And I'm like, what the hell? I just could not get my head around that. I was like so shocked at that. It's like they read my mind or something. It's like weird.
Well, we have that with Ouija boards when they answer questions before we finished asking it.
Yeah. Either that or whatever's there has experienced investigators before and they know what's coming up.
Yeah.
And it's like, I beat you to it. Knock, knock, knock. Yeah. Weird.
Yeah. No, I mean, I've asked them, is time the same over there? And they all say there is no time, Yeah, now this gets me onto reincarnation because, and I've got to tell you this, my listeners will be like, yeah, you're going to tell that thing again. I surveyed spirits for years at different locations saying, is there an afterlife? Is reincarnation real? Try not to put words in their mouth. And they all agree that you reincarnate 7 times. So you have 8. It basically means you have 8 lives.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I've said we call it what level are you on? And they'll be like, there's always between 1 and 8, So no matter where we go, whether it's with public or not, all the spirits say, yeah, I agree with that system. That is, you do. You can then go on to become a being of light, a guardian angel, if you like, and then you can choose to watch over people who are alive, and you don't have to be related to them.
Yeah.
It's just weird that the system. I mean, you can have strangers on a board and say, ask spirit about that, and no one goes, no, I don't agree. It's baffling, but I find it, fascinating.
Yeah.
So presumably you've used Ouija boards many times in the past.
Yeah. We tend not to use them for filming or when we used to do the events with the general public. We used to let them use them, but we always stood back because we didn't want to be accused of moving.
I know. Well, that's why I don't mind. I do it with my team, so it's all the same people. And you're like, well, if anyone were pushing it for fun, a decade of that would have worn off by now.
I look back now at the first series that we did, and I kind of, I'd say sometimes I kind of cringe at the bits that we did, but we were new and we were learning, and it's like everything, you evolve with things. The show's evolved, and the reactions that we've got, and we listen to what people are saying when you know we get the comments back on the shows. And like people will just say, like my friends will say, "Oh, I'll watch it," and I'll say, "Oh, we'll just watch it from this season. Don't bother going to watch the old ones."
So the first season's a bit raw.
But you know, it's trial and error, and I really feel that like every time that we released a season, that we've come that step further forward, and
people
it's getting better.
The people that seem to watch it as well tend to agree that we do make progress, and it's better as we go along. And season 4 we've got some really, really good viewers comments. So
you've got to remember that it's just us, we're not a professional production company or anything like that. Everything that you've seen is what we've learned to do ourselves, all the camera work, and obviously Phil had that insight into that when he did work in a professional environment, but he wasn't behind the camera, you were in front of it. But all the editing and things like that, and using the program, it's all stuff that we've learned to do ourselves.
It just takes a lot of time, doesn't it? But I would say that you can tell, don't take this the wrong way, because this applies to me too, you can tell that it's real, because if you were to fake it, it would be so much better. But you know what I mean? You would.
I know exactly
like,
what
oh
you
my
mean.
God, wow. Whereas it's like, no, ghost hunting is tedious. It is.
It can be.
Yeah, it is.
But no, I know exactly the point you're trying to make there. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. When it's quiet, it's quiet, and it's not your job or my job to convince people that ghosts exist. It's like, this is what happened. Here it is.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think I'll go with the question of negative energies. We hear spirits come in colours. They're nice or they're nasty. Do you also? Well, what's your thoughts? I won't put words in your mouth. A negative energy. I tell you, I've got a negative energy here. What would you say?
People in life, you get nice or nasty people. So why wouldn't that carry on into the spirit world? You
don't get 100% nasty though, Sarah, do you? You don't get. They get up and they eat their muffin angrily. They love their grandma with a load of hate. Even the worst.
You
even
get
Hitler
people
loved
go
his
out
cat.
there and murder people and do nasty things. And that is what I would class as somebody that is an evil, nasty person. So that's what I mean. But they might not be sort of like crunching the cornflakes in an angry way.
Yeah, just don't talk to me about demons. I'm just.
That's exactly.
Is that where you were heading with it? I mean,
it wasn't. That's on the board, but I wasn't.
I mean,
we're not American, are we? So
a belief system. It's a belief system, isn't it? And I think in life there are good and there are evil people, and that is where I would see that comes from. But then I have to say, and I've never experienced anything demonic, but who's to say, because we're investigating paranormal, who's to say that there isn't anything that's out there that you can't, I mean, we don't know whether aliens exist and stuff like that. So I don't know. I've not experienced it. And like with ghosts, I said that I wouldn't believe it until I saw one, and I have seen one, or I've seen a few now. But of all the places that I've been, hundreds of places from the top of the country to the very bottom, there's a handful that I've actually seen solid that I've said, well, do you know what, that can't be anything other than it wasn't there before, it wasn't there afterwards, and I've seen something solid. I don't know. But back to your question, I think in life there is good and evil, or good and bad. So why not? Why doesn't that carry on?
Well, I've had evil spirits what have been horrible to us, but we've got through that and become friends with them and found them not to be 100% evil. It's just, when people are angry, it's not like they are an angry person. It's like, no, they've had a shit day. Tomorrow, they're not, you know what I mean? I don't like the whole, you are horrible. I'm going to paint you as you're horrible, right, forever. I don't like that.
I've experienced angry people in life, and I would say that there are people out there that literally have
on Twitter, you mean?
Anger management. Yeah.
So does it bother you? There's Brangelina, there's Hiddleswift, that you don't have, what would it be? Cyril or Fira? You're the second, the UK's second most known paranormal couple. Oh, that's got to burn your bones a bit, hasn't it?
Not really. No.
No, I'm only winding you up. Yeah. So, yeah, what is the evidence that you hope to catch in season 5? Let's say what would it be? A noise? Would it be a sighting? What would it be?
It'd be a sighting for me. I think throughout doing all of this, I'm just one of those people that doesn't really experience visual stuff. I could be sat next to Sarah and she'll be like having a full-on fit at the fact that she can see this, I don't know, nun walking in front of her, and I'll be like, what are you talking about?
That hasn't happened.
That hasn't happened, by the way.
No.
But you know what I mean? You kind of know
I do what you mean.
So for me, it would be like seeing an apparition, a full solid looking thing, and then suddenly vanishes in front of me, and I'll be like, oh crap.
Yeah. Sarah?
I don't think, if I'm being quite honest with you, that I would sit here and say, this is what I want to get in season 5. Yeah, that is a penultimate, that you see something that's like unmistakable, that you can't say that it's anything natural. But I don't go and do this to prove anything to anybody. I do this because I love doing it, and I enjoy putting together Are You Haunted, and I enjoy going to the locations, and sometimes it is just about the location. I mean, some of the places that we've been have been absolutely fabulous that we wouldn't have been able to just get access to in everyday life. So I think there's nothing there that I would say, right, this is what I want to do in season 5. I just want to do season 5. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I totally get you. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. It's been an absolute honour in my life to talk to you both. Thank you so much for giving me time.
Yeah, you should have asked us earlier.
Yeah.
I tried to ask you in 2002, but you wouldn't. I was shouting into Keithley, but you never heard. Yeah. Phil, are you aware of what a reciprocal graph is?
A reciprocal graph?
I'm glad that you asked Phil that.
You were wearing one, and my son said, "Why is he wearing a reciprocal graph?"
Oh, right. Is that the you shall not pass?
Yeah.
Oh, right. I don't know. What is it?
Well, it's a maths graph thing. It's 2 lines in 0.3 and negative 0.3 that can never meet up. And I can't tell you any more than that because that's where my capacity for it stops. But my son was like, oh, reciprocal graph. I said, I don't think it's for maths, but I will ask him. You know what I mean? So
I had no idea what that was.
Not a clue. Fine. Sarah, did you go ghost hunting before you met Phil?
Oh, God, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I didn't know if you'd married into it and been like, I guess.
Everybody thinks this. And that, do you know what? It annoys me, that, doesn't it?
Yeah.
No, I did.
Yeah.
In fact, it was actually the way that we met, and I don't know if you're going to go and do this, but is that it was my private investigation, and I invited him along to my investigation, and that's how we met.
I'll tell you what comes across, and I'm not, you can tell whether this is true, that Phil, okay, you got on telly, right? You got on that, well done, you know. People sort of know you more, but Sarah, you seem to be the driving force, the organizer, the glue. Do you know what I mean? Phil seems to be like, well, just tell me what to do. You know,
tell me where to stand.
Yeah.
No, you've that is basically it, and you'll probably agree to that, won't you?
Yeah, when it's the oil haunted stuff.
Yeah.
It's just like with the whole paranormal, the spooky stuff and things like that, is that I don't know, there were a time where you were just ready to sort of hang it all up, and I were like, no, let's keep going.
But it's difficult when you've had a little bit of fame to not cash in on it. I mean, Phil, when you hit Most Haunted, I should go back, right? Give me 2 minutes. Give me 2 minutes to talk at you. Right. So when I was at school in the 80s, I started my first ghost gang when I was about 6 or 7 in the school playground, and I investigated the school toilets because we'd heard a caretaker had been killed. And I went in there and did the, is anyone here, you know, knock if you, whatever. And I declared that toilet not haunted, right? And I absorbed, like, all I used to ask for was Star Wars things and, like, Arthur C. Clarke books, anything on the mysterious and ghost. And I saw all the same pictures that you always saw in the 80s. Cut to, like, 2002 after watching very rare omnibuses on Life After Death and Arthur C. Clarke and stuff like that. And then obviously Scream Team hit and Most Haunted hit the TVs. And it was like, finally, we're going to get not just a one-off, but some series on it. And then obviously Scream Team was like the members of the public. And all of a sudden, I was like in my 20s or whatever. I'm only a few years younger than you, Phil. And it was like, hey, this is a chance. Here's my, you know, Phil and everybody else who I've forgotten because I didn't see him again, you know, they got on TV ghost hunting And I was, in my mind, I was like, I have researched since I was almost a toddler on this. And I don't know what's true and what's not, but I was up to date with it. And yeah, seeing the regular person, so to speak, on a ghost hunting thing was like, wow, this opening up to a world where I might actually get to go ghost hunting. It wasn't until like 10 years later that I started my own team through sheer frustration of, I've got to do it. You know what I mean? I have to get out there and try it for myself. But yeah, you were in like Ilkley down the road, and then Most Haunted did East Riddles and Hall, and it was like you were so close. And because social media wasn't what it was, I couldn't just come and knocking on the bus where, you know what I mean, your arrival bus. It's just so frustrating that I thought you were so close to me and getting to meet you, and then to finally see you on Most Haunted, I'm like, Phil, why is he on the skeptical position on Most Haunted when we know he's not a skeptic? You know what I mean? Yeah. I just wanted to say that to you, and to finally get to talk to you in some capacity. It really closes a loop for me of seeing a regular man on TV. And then I sort of became, I've not been on TV, but I'm an investigator too. So it's nice to talk to you on a level.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The silver bullet. We called the bus the silver bullet.
Yeah. But doing that was such a good idea, doing the crying child burning of the picture. It's like, yeah, we need someone to investigate it, skeptically.
Yeah. That took ages to burn as well.
Yeah, I know. I remember it did.
They throw the petrol all over it to burn it.
Yeah. I mean, there was no real result, was there? It's like probably nothing. It's probably just flame retardant paint or something.
Yeah.
But, it was cool. It was cool.